This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it.
Wow, I failed. I had one job.
You know what, Landon?
and I
Just
failed.
leave all that in. Leave the clap in there. You had one job, Sam. I don't understand what it is about this thing. Is this the most complicated thing on the planet Earth?
Like, I'm 0 for 2.
I mean, you got a Wharton grad and an Olympian right here, and they still can't figure it out.
You have no idea. All you got to do is tap it. And look, guys, that's what this is in the middle of the table. It's not a hockey puck. What in the world, Sam?
I grabbed it earlier and it switched to 99.
It's not something
I don't know how I did that.
down.
It's kind of like a jiu-jitsu move. You got to double tap it when you're ready.
You can't triple stamp, but double stamp. Can I do my intro now?
Yeah, you
can I
do
do
your
my
intro.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Forging Table, the mission of Undaunted Light. Undaunted Light. What is this? The light version of Undaunted? Undaunted, like beta. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Undaunted Life, the Forging Table. The mission of Undaunted Life is equipping men to push back darkness with content that forges spiritual, mental, and physical resilience. At the Forging Table, you'll see a group of regular guys forging spiritual resilience by digging into God's Word, and we're welcoming all of you to come along on that journey with us. We got OG Ryan in the house. We also got Howard Wickersham, and we got Sam Hazewinkle. So, Sam, this is your second trip. Howard, is this your second trip as well?
I think this is my third.
Okay, so we got a sophomore journey over here with Sam. But first, before we get too far into this episode, Ryan, what's your essence right now?
What's my essence
What's
right
your
now?
essence? We need an update.
I was wearing original Santal this morning at church.
Original Santal. Okay, very good.
But today I'm wearing, right now I'm wearing Viking.
Right, okay. Yeah. I like that a lot. But you know what I like even better?
It's a good choice.
As I was getting ready for the forging table, so, I had church this morning, come home, do some lunch, and then I'm getting ready. I'm going through my drawer in the bathroom, and wouldn't you know it, I found the last cologne that I ever wore.
Is that Cool Water?
Which this is Davidoff Cool Water, L'Eau de Toilette.
I wore that when I was 6.
Shut up.
I have some
This
of that
bottle,
at home.
okay, so this bottle has not been used. I've been in this house for, I think, 8 years, and I don't know that I used it in the house before this. And so, but because it's been a while since you told us the proper way to put on, and look how much is left in here.
Man.
It's a little travel one. There's just enough to get me through your description of how to put on cologne. So I'm going to push the mic away here, and you are going to, and I'm just going to do what you tell me to do with this within reason, damn it.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. Ready, set, go.
All right. Spray twice on spray once on your right shoulder. Left shoulder.
Hold on. There.
Left shoulder.
Okay.
And then your back, neck. And then spray twice on your left wrist.
That's a lot of cologne.
Yeah.
And then
it's
tap
Cool
that
Water.
together and then rub it on your chest or on your neck. There you go. Man, Kyle, this is the best you've ever smelled.
This is better than the smelling salts.
Yeah.
How's my essence, guys?
I
We good with
recognize
that?
it. I recognize
You're glowing.
your
You
essence.
recognize my essence?
Man, I haven't smelled Cool Water since elementary school, man. It's kind of weird.
Let's see.
Boom, hit it. You can just lean across the table, Howard, if you want to get all up on this. Oh, God, it's so strong. It's very strong.
They don't make it like they used to.
No, I guess not. No. But, I mean,
That bottle could be
if they don't make it like they used to, that bottle's
thing's been
probably 12 or
fermenting for
13 years
like,
old. Wait, does it change? Is it like
I mean,
wine?
I don't know.
Does it change in the thing?
Does it get better?
Does it get better with time?
Yeah.
You
For
smell
sure.
better, but
Yeah, I think I'd rather have the smelling salts than smelling like this. I smell like Macy's. This is problematic. And why are you hating on this? Oh, I haven't smelled that since elementary school. Is it just
I like Cool Water. I'm
is
just
this
saying
what
I
poor
haven't
people
wor-
wear? Is that
No,
what
it's
you're
not
saying?
It's not what poor people wear. No,
Is
I'm
this
just
like the
saying,
Axe body spray of cologne?
I'm just saying that that's like no. Cool Water is just really old. Like it's just like not really one that you really smell around anymore. Like there's some more updated ones like Spice Bomb or Chanel Blue, stuff like that. So I just haven't smelled Cool Water since elementary school. Honestly, it's just an older cologne. It's not a bad cologne. It's just old.
Well, I know for the first time in Forging Table history, there are competing essences on this side of the table, and so
Kyle, you beat me. You smell so much better than I do.
I don't like what I smell like right now because I never smell. I always just smell like me. I just smell like my own musk. But you know what? I do got to say right from the beginning, Sam, guys, the folks out there in YouTube land and on everyone listen to this. Sam, for the second time on this show, is saving our bacon. Because we had a last minute, issue. Someone lost a family member. And so, Sam, you were my first phone call. And I was like, brother, we need you. You got like 3 days. And I think we're hitting on this batch, we're hitting like 6 chapters of Genesis. and we had to adjust the time and move it around a little bit, and it was good to go. And so I was just going to come on here and say, hey, how thankful we are for you and how good it was. But the problem was you opened your trap.
Yes.
Okay? And in the new group text that I set up for this group for today, this was you. Okay. I said, hey, we had to change some time to accommodate. Thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciative of the flexibility, blah, blah, blah. You decide to say this. Let's go. We got all the bases covered here. Tall guy, short guy, bald guy, and the ugly redhead guy.
Nailed it.
Sounds like an all-star cast. Well, here's the thing.
Stinky, ugly.
You just you describe Howard
Cool
just as
guy.
tall. You describe yourself just as short. You do him just as bald. So everybody gets one thing about them, but you give me two things: ugly, redhead guy.
Yeah.
So when you think Kyle, when you think like, oh, Kyle just pops into your head, those are the first two things that we go
Ugly
to.
redhead guy.
Is that there's not even a story behind that? You just literally think I'm an ugly redheaded guy, Sam?
He
Well, I
just
had
doesn't like
some
red-
others, and it's a lot of
He was keeping it PG.
working.
You feel like you're playing with house money right now because you're like, I am saving Kyle's butt by being the fourth guy on the 40 table, so I can be
Fourth
mean to
guy,
him.
I can.
That's rude.
He's like, you're putting me through this. I'm going to throw something at you. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't really appreciate that very much.
I thought it was a compliment. Man, ugly guy's usually tougher.
Which part of it was a compliment?
Ugly guy and redhead, unless you don't find that.
Well, no, most
Seems
people
like
don't.
you don't find redheaded
Yeah.
people on the track.
We are a walking recessive gene. Basically, every recessive trait is in me at all times.
Except
So
short.
No one's like super.
Maybe a little short.
Well, short. Why in the world do you think we always have to put the huge Goonie people right there in that corner? You and Jake Winkler, you'll never sit in another seat.
This is
Because
my
if y'all
spot.
sat right here, no one would be able to see me.
I half expected him to be here.
Jake's
so
a
nobody could
tree.
see me.
Yeah.
Just hide Sam in the corner.
Put Sam in the corner
Hey,
behind
I think
me.
this might be.
Nobody put Sam in the corner.
Thank you.
Nobody.
Is this
Nobody.
the biggest height discrepancy in the history of that side of the table?
I would
Probably,
definitely
yeah.
say yeah.
Okay, Howard, how tall are you?
6'6".
6'6". Sam,
7'2".
shut up. How tall are you, Sam? Tell us. Everyone wants to know.
5'2"?
5'5".
5'5".
So when they
So 5. He's 5'3".
during
That's what I'm saying.
COVID, they switched to you could do like your doctors over Zoom, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But they'd be like, "How tall are you?" I'm like 6 foot
Sam.
every time. And the ladies would be like, "Okay, 6 foot."
That's like my
Sweet.
weight on
Yeah,
my
that's a
driver's
stretch.
license.
Yes, I loved it.
So there's literally a foot difference in height between the two of you,
Well, when we
Correct.
came in, I gave him the bro hug, and
and he like brushed up
Accidentally, his
against your
nose
belly
went in my
button.
arm.
Yeah.
I might have
like-
motorboated,
Wow.
but I was trying to smell his essence.
Yeah.
What's
Trying to
his essence like?
recognize his essence.
Howard, do we have any
Lacking.
essence on our body? Is there anything that we
no
add?
essence today.
No.
This got weird.
What,
Just
quick.
today.
what does Lady Wickersham like to smell?
Aqua de Gio.
Aqua di Gio.
Oh,
Yep.
See, that's
Sam,
like,
do you wear any cologne? Does anyone?
no.
See,
I'm
I'm
the
not-
only one who wears
That's like
I'm like
once a month I'll put that on, but that's
once
rare.
one date night.
Yeah.
No, he just does that. He
I've got
does
4
that.
kids. There's not too many date nights right now.
Well, I mean, it's important though.
It
I
is.
hear,
It is.
according to people on the internet, like if you don't go on dates, things don't go well. So,
No, we plan it. You just have to rearrange it sometimes.
so what's a good date in the Wickersham household? You and Lady Wickersham are gonna go do something. Give us an idea. What do y'all like to do?
We'll go to town, go to dinner, go shopping. Home Depot.
we have
Go
enough
to
time.
town.
Maybe
Where
Bed
do you
Bath
live?
Beyond.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
saying
know.
we're
We have
going
no
to
time.
town, but
Yeah.
you don't
We
live
go to
far
town.
from me.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You
I'm
jump
in
on the
Guthrie, so
highway.
I'm 20 minutes from
It gets in
where
his
there's
wagon.
anything. Right? Yeah.
Goes to the trading depot.
Yeah.
Like get some pemmican.
No, I mean we'll go downtown, go to Oklahoma City.
Get some rock candy.
We'll go to a concert once in a while. I took her to a Michael Bublé concert, so
Oh.
that was pretty good.
Okay,
So,
fancy.
yeah.
I was about to say what kind of concert because I do know that Lady Wickersham knows about the Wu-Tang Clan.
knows
She
about that.
loves Wu-Tang.
She will throw up the woo if she needs to. Protect your neck. That's what
Yeah.
I'm just saying. When you're around
Man.
Lady Wickersham,
Yep,
protect your
she's
neck.
got the vibes on music way more than I do.
That one couples night. Didn't she start playing Genuine?
Oh, when we did the face painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good.
Yes.
She's the DJ in our house.
Yeah, so it is kind of interesting because we're doing this thing, which I was really not looking forward to, but it's where you paint your partner, right? Not actually their body or whatever, their face, but you each have a canvas and you've got paint in front of you and you have to paint what you see in the other person or whatever. You have to do your best. And the funny thing about it is no one's really an artist. And so it doesn't exactly get you close by. But one of the most enjoyable parts was whenever your wife took over the Bluetooth speaker. And I was just like, because she's the most sourdough, like prairie woman, like the person that's like her persona.
Yep.
And it was like what I would have listened to in high school. And I'm just kind of like, where did this come from? And she's just saying all the lyrics to everything. And I was just like, Lady Wickersham.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
She likes to party.
Yeah, she does like to party a little bit. And there was a little bit of investigation. Do we need to get into the scripture? Do we need to get in? Should we save the investigation, what you were telling me about before?
Let's
You wanna
talk about that next week.
Okay, we'll talk about it next week. Let's go ahead and get into Genesis 26. So I know throughout Genesis we've been doing, one chapter here, and then sometimes we'll, double or even triple up the chapters. We're just hitting Genesis 26 today. So Mr. Wickersham, let's kick off Genesis 26 with the first 5 verses.
Okay, now there was a famine in the land beside the former famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Gerar to Abimelech, the king of the Philistines. And the Lord appeared to him and said, Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land of which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and will bless you. For to you and to your offspring I will give all of these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of the heavens, and will give to your offspring all these lands. And in your offspring all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
So right here we get into a discussion about, so there's a famine in the land, we see this, and there's a lot of things that are going on right now for Isaac that really go back to what we saw with Abraham. So there is a famine, there's issues with the Philistines, but really just going back to verse 1, this exposed Isaac and his family to danger. So whenever they're going through this area, going to Gerar, to Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, like they were being open to danger here, but they still had the protection and cover of God. So let's just chat about these first 5 verses here, whatever you guys got.
Well, I put kind of the two same things down, but the similarities between him and Abraham, and we'll get into more as we read down through there. But the first one was the promises of God. Similar to Isaac to Abraham is when he promises that he will be with him. He has all those similar promises that Abraham had. So those were the first things that came to me.
I also think he's like testing his faith, and the fact that he says, with this famine, is God going to provide? Having to head down south, someplace I've never been before. And God, I think, is trying to draw out obedience from him as well. But he also reassures him, and he reassures him by, giving the same promise that he gave his father.
Yeah, I think the father part is what I liked. I hope the generational blessings. I hope my son is blessed because of what I do, and his son is blessed because of what I do. And I know I feel very much blessed because of the way my dad lived, and I get to hear it all the time on the wrestling side. People come up to me all the time like, man, your dad. And it's crazy because I get to hear like he was a great wrestler, but way more I hear like, man, your dad led me to the Lord, and he was such a good soul and a good person, and he's touched so many lives. And he was a great wrestler, which to me is a blessing, and I really hope and pray that's like what happens with me, with my son, that he hears a lot more about, man, your dad really touched my life and helped me, lead me to the Lord, way more than I hope the wrestling side, and I really want the wrestling side.
Well, Sam, I actually do want to go into that a little bit deeper, just because you do have a unique background. You were on the Olympic team. You went as part of the Greco wrestling team. But typically when you see these great wrestlers, because a few months ago there was the Nationals and all that, typically dad was a wrestler, right? And a lot of times dad was a wrestling coach. You just see that with these great wrestlers, as dad was a wrestling coach. And so try to give people an understanding of like, okay, what levels did your dad coach at? Kind of like his range, because I mean, being an Olympic wrestler is such a rare feat. And when your son can reach that level, You don't normally see this deep, long progeny of wrestlers. So like when's the last time there was a wrestler that won the national tournament and their father was also a national champion? Like
not very many.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but kind of give us a sense of what that looks like, because I think this is really important, because Isaac is getting the oath and he's continuing this blessing from Abraham, but I think it goes right in line with what you're saying.
Yeah, it doesn't happen much. I know we just had the first American kid that won Worlds, whose dad also won Worlds. But his dad wrestled for Russia at the time, so does it count? Let's count it.
Yeah,
they're American now. But until that, I mean, my dad and I are the only in wrestling father-son Olympians. And it's funny because he was way better than I was. I'm made an Olympic team, and I'm not near the top best athlete in the family, which is
But you're an Olympian.
wild.
You're an
You
Olympian.
can carry
crazy.
the title. Olympian.
Yeah, I mean, I get to brag on him a little bit. 2-time Olympian, him and his twin brother. They made 6 straight world or Olympic teams. My dad was the first to beat a Russian at Worlds. He was the first one to get a silver medal at Worlds. The best we'd done is bronze. He was the first one to win back-to-back medals. He got a silver and a bronze. And basically, him and my uncle got wrestling, Greco wrestling, really going in America. And he did a great job of not putting like a shadow. Like I never felt like I was in his shadow, which I hope I do that with Josh. I think I am, because he's like, Olympian. I don't know any good wrestlers. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm doing something right, I guess, I think. But yeah, it doesn't happen a lot. And I felt very blessed. And I think the stuff he learned and teaching it to me, growing up in it, I didn't realize the advantage it was. You know, looking back now, such a huge advantage. And he was my coach all the way through. He was my coach, Little League, high school, until college. College was the first time he wasn't my coach. And he was coaching at a Christian college, but I went to OU, and he really wanted me to go there with him.
That would have been something. But I mean,
it would have been. It would have been fun.
You got to go on your track that you need to go, and at some point you do have to separate off from your
Sure.
father. But kind of to bring that full circle with your dad, what's it like for you as a son with his son, but you have a son yourself?
Right.
When you hear about the legacy of your father, because, you know, a lot of guys, mainly male audience, we've talked about our fathers a little bit on the forging table over the years. And, you know, some guys, we have fathers that are non-believers, fathers that you were maybe, they loved you, but you had to guess because they never said it. And dads that just didn't have, like, legacy. And, like, you know, for me personally, like, I love my dad. My dad's my biggest fan. I've never had someone else come up to me and say, hey, your dad had this impact on me. My dad's more of a wallflower, kind of a behind-the-scenes type of guy. So for you, like, what does it do for you whenever you hear someone come up to you and they don't just talk about, man, your dad really taught me this amazing single leg finish, or this great escape from this particular position?
I get to hear that too.
Okay, well, but the impact of having someone that's like, hey, this guy changed the trajectory of my spiritual eternity, like, that's pretty incredible.
Yes, it makes me super, super proud. Like, and at the same time, like, hoping I'm on that same track. Mm-hmm. You know, I really pray and try to surround myself with people that'll push me to do the same. Because I think that's important for my son to see, and I strive to do the same. Because I know it did mean a lot to me. It meant a whole lot to me, and set a good example.
When I think it's important, look at verse 5. Going back to the text here. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. I tell guys all the time, don't be the do as I say, not as I do dad, right? Don't tell your kids to do their homework when you were a crappy student. Don't tell your kids, eat your vegetables or eat your meat and work out, but don't take care of yourself in fitness. But the same thing, like, spiritually. Like, imagine the only spiritual formation your kids get is when you drop them off at kids'
church on Sunday,
palace on, you know, Sunday or something like that. And that's the only time they see the Bible open is when someone other than their father opens it up.
Right.
Like, I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it came from Family Shepherds with Vody Bauckham or just somewhere in our conversations, but it's like, no. Oh, I remember a lot of people different said it, but Zach Todd of Forging Table fame, a guy who also doesn't know how the timer works. He was talking about every time he would study the Bible.
Maybe it's the timer.
He was doing it on. No, it's not the timer. The timer is perfect. He would study the Bible on a tablet or on his phone, and so when his kids would walk by, he's got a young son and a young daughter. They would just see Dad on a device.
He's
right?
working, yeah.
Dad's working. Dad's busy. That type of thing. But he was digging into the word of God. And so he invested in a very nice leather Bible so that whenever he is studying the word, his kids actually see him studying it with it open. So it's like it's important whenever your kids see you studying the Bible on your own, but also you're leading them through Bible study as well. They see you, ask the server at lunch, if you can pray for them. They see you sharing the gospel with people. Because just imagine you going through the parts of the Bible that talk about evangelism and sharing your faith and, taking care of the widows and orphans. But every opportunity you get to do something like that, you don't take it.
I always use that term, more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
Right? It's what they're going to catch. So, but I do have to ask this. So you mentioned it. Do you eat salad in front of your kids? Do you eat
No, I don't
veggies in
want them-
front of your kids?
The thing is I don't want them to pick up bad habits, right? I don't want them
Salad's
right? Man, do we need to go back into the salad thing? I think
He brought it
this
up.
may have been the maddest you've ever been at me. Was whenever I refused to eat a salad. I'm at your birthday dinner, and you've been mad at me before, right? You've been
Yeah.
like, getting, you got the red kind of coming up from your shirt and sleeves, like coming up and getting mad.
My face gets really red.
Right, but we're at this like 74 course meal, and they bring out this
Oh, yeah,
salad.
this is- yeah.
yeah, and
Like
nothing in
few
that,
years ago.
nothing on that plate was anything that I would put into my mouth and then chew it up and swallow it. And you just go, Kyle, you're not going to eat your salad. I'm like, Ryan, I don't eat this. And you just kept going, and finally you like grabbed the salad and put it in front of you as if I had like
a
I don't know,
slap in the
said
face to the
yeah,
chef.
it's like I
Yeah.
slapped your mother, and
No,
then
you
you just brought it over here, and you ate the salad, but you angrily did it like an angry rabbit. You were just like, "Ugh, stupid salad."
He's like this.
Well, because we had a chef personally put this menu together for
Right.
my
Fair,
birthday,
yeah.
and to serve it to us, and he was going to leave it full on the plate. Like you could at least ate half of it.
It looks
He
like
didn't even
moved,
touch it.
moved
He
it
just like-
around
No, no,
so it looked like
Are there-
some of
are
it.
there-
yeah.
Had it.
Yeah.
Are there foods that you don't like?
There are foods I don't like. Yes.
Okay, so if somebody put an entire plate of foods you don't like in front of you, you would sit there and just eat it, so you didn't
I
make
would-
the chef feel funny.
I would eat some of it. Yes, I would try it and eat it, even if I didn't like it. Like I don't like pickles, but I try pickles at least 2 or 3 times a year just to see if my taste buds change.
Your taste
But-
buds change every 7 years. So
and
you
so
need
that's
to
where
try
I'm
it.
like,
Come
and
on.
so that's why I'll try things, and if I don't like it, I don't like it, but I don't leave it just like as it was prepared in front of me and just leave it there, so they have to come and pick it back up.
What if I had done the whole method, like move it around on the plate, drop some on the floor,
If you
kind of
would
thing?
have
Would that have been
taken,
fine?
if you would have
Better.
taken 3 bites, I would have been fine.
3
with that.
bites of salad?
Yeah.
That's so many.
That's not a lot.
so many.
Like it had like onions and
That's what
lettuce.
Josh
It
says,
had
too.
it was so
lettuce.
good. It was
It
so
had
good.
lettuce. It had it was like a blueberry dressing. It was delicious. It didn't even have any onions on it. It was a cornbread. What do you want to call it? Crouton.
I think I ate the crouton. I think I ate the croutons.
No, you didn't eat the
Counts
croutons.
as
I
one.
ate the croutons.
Are you sure?
Yes, you didn't even touch it. That's why I
Okay,
was upset.
you might be right. Well, I did touch the plate. I think it was as I was shooing it over to
yeah,
you.
you,
I was like,
you
"Get
touched
this."
it. No, you touched it and put it forward.
Get away. Hey, but I did the normal thing, like you're supposed to take your fork and turn it upside down and turn it down just to let the people know I am done eating this nonsense. Right?
Yeah, you
Please
did.
take this away from
You
me.
did. It's all good. I got 2 salads that night.
Bro.
So,
Yeah.
Is that a thing? You're supposed to turn it upside down?
Yeah.
yeah, you
that's
put
missed
like
that
the knife
part
and the
of
fork.
home.
yeah, knife and
Up
the
at
fork, you put it down
yeah.
on top of it and you cross it, right?
At least
And
he was
then-
polite.
He was polite in his
Thank you, Ryan. I
impoliteness.
think that was actually a compliment.
It's like
I
a
feel better.
backhanded compliment.
Can we
It was
just
a
talk about the
compliment.
fact I'm being choked by the smell of myself right now? Like every single word,
Man.
it's like just this aerosol is just like hanging
It's
over.
taking me back to the 90s. I love it.
Oh my gosh, take it
Like
back.
I've been daydreaming about it. Like I'm like, man, remember back in I was in California in the 90s. So
Gosh, let's turn on some Red Hot Chili Peppers and get after it, I guess. Well, or we can get back to the Bible. Anybody?
yeah,
are
let's
y'all
get,
good
back,
with that?
let's get back to the Bible.
Okay, so we're gonna get into this next section of Genesis 26. So Sam, if you would go ahead, it's gonna be a nice big chunk for you, Sam.
Oh, boy.
And if at any point you want to tag Ryan in, go for it. But we're gonna go. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do you a favor, Sam. You read 6 through 16. 6 through 16, and then Ryan, you're going to finish the chapter out for us.
All right.
Okay, starting at
works.
17, and it's going to be it's going to be the best transition ever. Ready, set, go.
Never anything like it. So Isaac settled in Gerar.
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 We'll go with it.
Like that guy from North Carolina.
That's right. When the men of the place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," for he feared to say my wife, thinking lest the men of the place should kill me because of Rebekah, because she was attractive in appearance. When he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out a window and saw Isaac laughing with Rebekah, his wife. So Abimelech called Isaac and said, "Behold, she is your wife. How then could you say she is my sister?" Isaac said to him, "Because I thought lest I die because of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, "Whoever touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." And Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. The Lord blessed him, and the man became rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled with earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we."
So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that also. And so he called its name Sitnah. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Go for it.
Sitnah.
Looks good.
All right. And moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called its name Rehoboth, saying, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." From there he went up to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you and will bless you, and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake." So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. When
Pause. Hey, we got the first lady
Yes.
and the firstborn of the forging table. What's up, James? Hey,
buddy.
hey, you're gonna say something into this mic.
Yes.
Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
say hi
buddy?
to everybody on the camera.
Hi.
You see the camera right there? There's too many cameras. All right, sweet baby James. Thank you so much for the tea, buddy.
5.
And thank you to the first lady.
Oh, you
of
left me
Undaunted.Life.
hanging, James.
Oh, it's okay.
Come back over
Go
here.
back. Oh, got to give Horn 5.
Boom.
Oh,
That's a
dude.
good one.
Bringing the heat.
That's a pretty good one.
Now
Got to get some more. Bye,
Too
guys.
strong.
Bye, guys. Sorry, I felt like that was worth the pause. So
It was
here
worth
we
the pause.
go.
I was like sitting there. I'm like, what's going on here?
I see
What we were
movement.
talking about.
We're being
Is
overrun.
James gonna come up here and make fun of me because I can't read good?
Yeah, probably. All right, let's get back into it.
All right. When Abimelech went from, so he built an altar and called upon the name of the Lord, and he pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. When Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzah, his advisor, and Phicol,
Don't. Yep.
Yep.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Not the best.
Ryan, just keep going. Just move past it.
the commander of his army.
Sam, you're back.
King
in.
James Version.
Sam,
Isaac
Sam,
said,
okay.
Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and you have sent me away from you?" They said, we see plainly that the Lord has been with you. So he said, "Let there be a sworn pact between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. You are now the blessed of the Lord." So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early to exchange oaths. Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well and they had dug, and said to them, "We have found water." He called it Sheba, Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, to be his wife, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. They made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah.
All right, very good. So again, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but the parallels with Abraham and Isaac, famine, lying about their marital status. I'm like, when I first read this, I thought, oh crap, I started reading the wrong chapter. Like I've read this before. Oh, it's a whole new era of stupidity in this exact same area, but prosperity, covenant with the Philistines, the whole 9 yards.
It just makes me laugh because, like, if we go back to 26, just what we read before, God basically tells him, I'm going to create a great nation from you.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes you think that your wife's going to get killed? You know, like you lose faith and you're not obedient and then you sin. And so and the other thing I have to wonder about is, like, how attractive are these women?
Dude,
You know what I'm
I was
saying?
thinking the same thing. I'm not going
I
to
was
hanging.
like,
They have got to be, like, I've thought about how good looking was Bathsheba, how good looking are these women that everybody else, he's just like, there's no way the king's not going to notice.
Well,
right?
Sarai was like, what, 60 something years old? And it's just like, and then it's like, this dude goes and finds Rebecca, and like Rebecca's this like super attractive. And then the other thing that got me was like the Abimelech's like, hey, somebody could have laid with her.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the heck goes down?
Yes.
In these areas where people are like, okay, I'm going to go lay with that one.
And the
you know?
people
Well,
chosen by God keep
she's that
getting
pretty.
bailed out
Yeah.
by pagan kings.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I put
Yes.
on here. I'm like, do you think it's a sense of morality or like a fear of, like, you know, superstition?
Okay, yeah, that could be it as well, to where it's like, look, dude, because we saw that in previous parts of Genesis where it's like, hey, like you basically brought cursing into my household, and so, you know, get out of here and take some stuff with you. Like, go on.
That's the thing that, like, they think that's going to bring upon a curse. And so, like, don't they have like their own marriage type vows or something like that, or how marriage or how courting should happen so that there isn't something like that? So it's like, I don't know. I just think it's crazy that, you know, it's like, whoa, like, why would they let, like, I'm sure that Rebecca would have had to have courted somebody, and then his family would have to be like, yeah, we're going to give her over to you. But, like, I don't know. It just, I just find it really strange.
Well, it could be they're both men of power, and that's how wars start.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hector and Achilles, or whatever that guy's nephew was, should have read about this.
Yeah.
He should have known.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
What is it? What is his nephew's name? It's not Boagrius.
You could have went with that, and I would have been like, "Yep."
Yeah, I just gotta say it with my
talking
chest.
about
Fecal.
Achilles?
His name's probably Fecal.
Hey, dude, is it fecal? Like, I don't know.
Is that what we're going to
Pickle?
be focusing in on?
I don't
Like,
know.
let's just.
I've
it
read
doesn't
this.
even-
I've read that part probably like 30 times.
But you didn't read it out loud.
And I didn't read it out loud, so I didn't make it. I didn't
How
even
did you say
register.
it?
I just-
How
you
did
know,
you say it?
I said fecal.
I hear it's a-
remember it saying,
Fecal?
hear him say fecal.
Fecal
Well,
or
I hear
fecal?
it's a crappy
Probably
city.
correct.
You know, it's a real crappy city. You know,
Dude, I was like, oh my gosh.
but when I go to verse 8 here, you know, I just what I wrote in my notes, and so. When he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out the window and saw Isaac laughing with with Rebekah, his wife. And so they weren't just giggling, like they were obviously laughing and embracing
Flirting.
in a way that was, you know, very flirtatious, something you wouldn't do with your sister. And I mean, maybe if you're in Alabama or something, but sorry, shout out to all of our fans in Alabama. Shots fired, roll tide. But like, you know, what's done in the dark will be brought to the light. You think you're slick. Like, oh yeah, it's my sister, no big deal. But then it's just like, bro, you're within
Yeah.
you know, sight, like potential.
Well, I
sight
kind
of
of
this
wondered
guy.
about that because I looked at several different, you know, oh gosh, what do you call it? Several
Commentaries?
different passages, like just to see, because I was like, well, if they're just laughing
Different
together,
translations.
look different translations. I was like, why would he care that they're laughing together? But then you look at another one, they say caressing, so laughing, caressing, you know. So it was just like, you know,
It's like date night. They're going to Michael Bublé after this. You know what I mean? Like they're getting after.
Spraying on that cool water.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad.
I think one thing we look at, and I read this in a couple commentaries, is that Abimelech could have been the same type of pharaoh as Abraham during Abraham's time. So he could have got like shafted twice, I guess, is what they talked about.
Okay.
So, because they say that even though Abimelech is a king of the Philistines, he still headed, Abraham still headed south. And so they could have used Pharaoh at that time just to mean king or something like that. And so Abimelech could have been the same king at that time during Abraham?
I think it's Patroclus. I think that's
Patroclus?
Yeah, that's Achilles'.
I think that's
well,
right.
like in the movie,
Yeah.
that was like his cousin,
I
but
don't
then in Homer's, isn't that his lover?
Maybe.
In Homer's,
Wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, or
I mean,
there were-
we're talking about the Greeks, so
well, in a lot of those old
Like Alabama.
armies, they would put an older warrior with a younger warrior, and they would become lovers. There were certain groups of different armies where they were all like gay lovers. Hey, we can't play that. It'll get pulled down off of YouTube. So just make sure we can't hear it.
yeah,
What
you can't hear it.
What are we looking for?
I'm looking for the name.
Oh, the name of the guy?
Yeah, I can find it here. I know who
Trippus.
played him. There he is. Garrett Hedlund played him.
Yeah.
Patroclus.
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 Anyway, no one actually cares about that. Okay, good. Go us. We did it.
We did it.
We figured it out.
I thought some other things, if we want to talk about that chapter, in this chapter, is God said he would bless Isaac, and then he reiterates that even after what went on about him lying about his wife Rebecca, and then God's faithfulness is still there even through his deceit and the fact that he sowed in the land and reaped the same hundredfold that his father did. And then you kind of goes and it shows the fear of God in the actual, what do you want to call them, the Philistines. So like they're seeing what's going on with him, they're seeing his blessings, and then they have a fear of God. I don't know if it's like a fear of God that we would have, but they have a fear of like, hey, this guy's pretty powerful. We need to get him out of here.
Yeah, and I mean, verse 12, we talk about him reaping 100-fold. This is right after he lied about who his wife was.
Yeah.
It goes back to dad. It's because of
Yeah.
dad.
Right.
It's not because of son.
He wasn't
least not
alive.
yet.
He wasn't alive to see his dad do that, but
Right.
But still, it's just like I mean, when we go through these chapters and we go the next couple of weeks, there's so much lying and deceit that
it
just
is.
goes down, where it's just like, people are trying to make things that God wants to do happen, and I kind of notice that in our lives is like, hey,
Yes.
God's got
Every
a plan,
day.
but like I have my own plan sometimes that it might seem like it's on path with his plan, but I'm trying to make things happen. And it's just like, sometimes that's just not me. I should let God actually do the work. If he's opened the doors, I need to walk through them, and I just need to do what I need to do in that time rather than try to make all these other things happen, because that's what he's going to do. And that's what we see here is he's like, there's fear, and he's like, well, I need to make sure my wife is safe, and I have a long lineage of line like God said, so I'm going to do this. And it wasn't the right path.
Well, do we see that? Do y'all think this is just like a like father, like son thing, to where he didn't see his dad do the exact same thing? We can't know whether or not they talked about that. Like, oh, that's one of the family stories when, grandpa
think it
did this
was.
or something like that. Or is this just like a like father, like son situation to
Apple
where,
doesn't fall far from
well,
the
yeah, and
tree.
you see some sin that carries on generationally, which
generations.
again, people get a little uncomfortable talking about generational sins and all that because we all have individual autonomy and all that kind of stuff. But it's like there are
both.
things passed down genetically that give you a predisposition for some sins over others.
I just think it's human nature.
Yes. Well, and it definitely part when you do see your dad. I know it happens all the time. They watch their dad beat their mom, they hate it, and then they're beating their wife. It happens all the time.
Yeah, abusers typically
Yes.
were abused.
And even when they hate it, I'll never become a drunk. And they're drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Dealing with it.
Makes you wonder, did Abraham continue to lie? You know what I'm saying? But I just think I think when we're in a sense of fear, the human thing for us to do is to survive rather than trust. And I think that's what he's lacking here. It's just
And
it's
how
trust.
tenured is he yet, right? Like how much turmoil and how many ups and downs has he been through for that trust to be built?
Yeah.
He just was given this promise,
Yeah.
and has it been tested yet?
Yes. Well, and he cheated to get the promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
I better keep cheating to get the promises.
Well, the promise was already going to be given to
Yes.
him. Yeah.
I
Which,
was saying in his eyes.
yeah. In his eyes, we're going to go over that in some chapters, but it's just like the promise was already given, and we look at man or woman who try to make things happen that God says is going to happen. It's like, well, I don't have enough trust to allow God to do this. I'm going to make it happen on my own. And then we see them go down a path that is not a good path. It's not a holy path.
I want to point out it doesn't mean don't do anything either.
Well, no, I
yeah,
get that.
right.
No,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
that's the
I
point.
think there's a fine line there.
That's the point, though, is that the door is open. You have to walk through it, and you've got to do what you got to do within that door, but you can't make things happen.
Right.
You know, like you've got to just walk. At some point you have to walk in faith.
Yes.
Rather than but you have to walk. That's the point. Like you have to walk, but you have to keep walking, and you don't know where the path's going to end up, but you have to keep walking. So you are doing something.
I keep going back to this at times. You know, the more that I read in the Old Testament, it's like when we talk about how much we're in the Word, right? And how much we go back to the Word, to His promises, to the stories where God has been faithful. And you take somebody like Jacob. What did he go back to the Word daily? Was he praying to the Lord? Like, what kind of experiences did they have to strengthen their faith on a day in and day out basis? And so, you know, like we can go to the scripture, Deuteronomy 31, be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you, right? Did he get that one promise, or does he keep going back to that one promise he heard from God, or is he in the Word? Is he praying on a daily basis? You know, what's strengthening him in his walk?
Yeah.
We don't get to see that, but
Well, there's no scripture.
Yeah,
and so
right.
it's just
So-
like God's coming and talking to them. I mean, that's what we saw with Abraham is, you know, he communed with God. You know,
It is why I think he knows what his dad did. All this,
Yeah.
everything in here was passed down.
oh, yeah,
verbally.
by storytelling. So yeah,
Yes.
of course.
I would
So-
think.
I think that's that thing for us, though. It's like we're on the end of this, right? And we get to see all of this, and it's so easy to sit from here and judge Jacob and Isaac and be like, gosh, you guys are just idiots, right?
We can't judge them
Yeah,
because like that's why I say it's more human nature than a father-son type thing. It's because we're no different.
Yeah.
And the fact that we don't have, sometimes we lack faith.
Oh,
And we lack obedience. And what that falls through is deceit sometimes. So
One thing that I'd like to do as we wrap up our discussion of Genesis 26, and sorry I keep clearing my throat into the microphone, guys, having some vocal cord troubles. That's why sweet baby James and the First Lady of Undaunted.Life brought me this lovely tea here. Shout out to Fieldcraft Survival for the awesome cup here. But verse 24, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham, your father. Fear not. For I am with you and will bless you and will multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake. So I'm going to bless you for your father's sake, okay? But fear not. We get told several times in Scripture, fear not. I would, if I had thought about this beforehand, I would have gone into Logos, which, again, shout out to Logos. They have the best Bible software on the planet Earth. Ryan Horn's actually got it up right here beside me. Guys, if you want the best Bible software for your Bible study, go into the show notes for any Forging Table episode over like the last year or so, and there's a link in there for you to get that at a discount. They've changed how they've done it. They would sell the software. Now they're doing it kind of like as a monthly thing. It's absolutely fantastic. But we see fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not throughout Scripture. The thing is because God is terrifying. Angels are terrifying. Why could God not allow Moses to look at him in all of his glory? Why? He basically said, all right, you can look at my stank trail that comes off behind me, right, between two rocks, because if I show you anything else, you'll basically be obliterated, right? And we see in Exodus that he came down off the mountain. He was like glowing, didn't even know he was glowing just by looking at, the trail behind God, like the backside or whatever. But just this concept of fearing God, I don't think we talk about it enough in church. I don't think men's groups or Bible studies, we talk about that because you need to have a healthy fear of God. You need to have a healthy reverence of God, not like Scary Movie or Halloween, Friday the 13th, stuff like that, but like scary in terms of like, look, this is the creator God of the universe that can stamp out my entire, family tree in an instant. And I need to put some respect on his name, right? And I just don't feel like we talk about that very much.
I think that's where we don't have that honor and respect for him to go like, okay, if I don't obey, there's a consequence. We just think, well, we don't see the consequences of our sin
loving
enough,
God,
right? Yeah, it's all about the love. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. When I was young, we were taught like that's the way the father's supposed to be in the home too. There's that healthy fear of dad. He'll put the smack down if he needs to. And
I actually want to talk
I think
about
that's
the
missing very much nowadays.
I think that's a great point. I want to talk about this. This came up in some video online or something like that. But they basically asked the person like, hey, when you were a kid, why didn't you do drugs? Why didn't you drink? Why didn't you do all that? And the answer would be because my dad would kill me. Because my mom would kill me. Now, the odds of them actually taking her life were not high, but it's a hyperbolic expression to express an idea. that I was terrified of my parents, which is my story. I didn't have sex as a kid. I didn't get drunk. I didn't do drugs. I've never had weed. I never did any of the things that some of my knucklehead friends were doing because I was like, if I get caught, like my family didn't mess around. It wasn't like, oh, well, if you do that again, we'll take away your car keys for a couple of days. It was like, oh, your car is going to be sold today. You will walk to school from here on out, even though it's like 10 miles away. Like, doesn't matter. Like, it would have been like scorched to earth. But if you don't have a healthy respect and fear for your parents, what kind of kid are you? Like the worst kids that you know and that you've seen is because their parents are weak and they have spared the rod from their children. They have not given them the proper discipline and direction that they need. And it makes sense. They don't have a healthy respect or fear for their earthly father. Why in the world would they fear their heavenly father? As they should, which as we fear them in a reverent point, like that God is scary and we should look at him as such, right? God is love and in those things, but he is also terrifying in a good way.
And he's just.
Yep.
He's just because he has to be.
Well,
He gives grace where he needs. And
Well, he's just because he is God. He knows better than we do. I think, though, when I look at this, I didn't really think about that fear not, for I am with you. When I read that part, I was thinking more of like, Isaac just got like kicked to the curb by the Philistines. You're talking about a big nation with the Philistines, and he's been told to leave. So I bet he's dealing with some sort of stress. Some sort of worry with what's going on. And like, this is where God comes again and says, I'm with you, fear not. Here's my promises for you. And so I feel like he's like easing the anxiety of Isaac. And like, I actually took this to heart. I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety like the last couple of weeks and stuff. And so, and I let my anxiety like take me to places I probably should never go. And I feed it, and we feed our anxiety. And it's just like, when I read this part, it's just like, fear not, I am with you. Whatever happens, here is my promise to you. And like, that's something we as Christians have to remember, is that, we are going to go through trials and tribulations. We talked about that today with what's going on with Christians overseas. And like you said today, Kyle, we're in middle America, Edmond, Oklahoma, which is like Camelot. My worst thing is like, someone's going to make fun of me for putting a Bible verse on or something like that. And what kind of anxiety are these guys dealing with? They're a nation that's like going to be under attack. And so, I feel like God's giving him some ease here and telling him, no, I have a future. I have a plan for you. Kind of like the Jeremiah 29:11, when the Jews were going through, what do you want to call it? The 70 years of, I went brain dead. 70 years.
We're all got it on the edge of our tongue.
When the
Exile?
Exile, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
The 70 years of exile.
I was like, the most obvious answer can't be the answer.
No,
yeah,
it is the answer because I'm dumb and I can't think of the word off the top of my head.
It happens.
But they're going through exile. And Jeremiah 29:11, how many times do we hear that verse all the time? I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for you to prosper. And how we take that and we're like, oh man, we take, I have kind of a charismatic bent of how I grew up, and it's like, oh man, I'm going to have money in the bank and blah, 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 blah. You go and look at the actual verse and what's actually going on at this time. The Jews are giving up. The Israelites are giving up. They're like, oh man, we're in exile. We're under attack. Our whole being is now being, ripped to shreds. Yeah. And God's saying, and they're wanting to give up. They're like, they don't want to procreate anymore. They don't want to work. They just want to sit there and not do anything. They don't want to walk in faith that we talked about. And God says, no, get up and do it. I have a plan for you. Yeah, this stinks right now because you brought this upon yourself, but you may be in exile, but I have a purpose and a plan for you. And that's where I feel like Isaac is getting the same thing from God right here.
When there's Psalm 23, the thing about the valley of the shadow of death is that God's with you. Right? That's kind of the point of that psalm, is God is with you in the valley, right? Because we're either in the valley, coming out of the valley, or about to go into the valley.
Do you think we fear the things of this world more, or the fear of the Lord?
I would say in general the things of this world, because we are fearful of what we don't have that someone else has, envy. We're fearful of our future, which is,
which is he's promised.
Which is promised for us. We're fearful of struggle. I just got an email right before we started recording from a guy. Actually, let me read it, because I think this is poignant. So this guy, I won't say his name, this was it. It's a kind of a scary message to get, but, These are just sometimes the messages I get. Hey, Kyle, I just started watching your show after hitting a major low point in my life. Look, man, I'll be honest. I just don't see a point in things anymore. Every day seems like a struggle. Is there any advice you can give me? So inherent in that is this guy is really up against it, okay? And we've had, there's been some suicide in my foxhole and some different things that have happened. And so this is a cry for help, and he's crying out to a podcaster that he just found, right? And basically what I sent back to him was, brother, life is struggle. Like, what do you expect? Like, I'm trying to kind of rejigger his brain to be like, brother, read your Bible. Like, some of the most important people that God uses for his purposes had incredibly rough lives. I'm kind of summarizing what I responded back to him. I was like, this modern day rainbows and unicorns Christianity, like, it's like, bro, that's just it's not biblical Christianity. It's foolish to believe that. It's like, brother, we're called to struggle. And I told him, read, I said, we are called to serve God in our struggle. And guess what? The valley of shadow of death, you're not alone. God's with you. And I told him, read Psalm 23. And then when you're done, read it again, and then read it again and again. Because that's what's guaranteed for us. We're guaranteed to have struggle and strife while we're here, but that's not the end of the story, right? And I feel like we don't look at it that way. We don't have perspective because our circumstances that are right in front of our face seem dire.
Yeah.
Well, guys, as we wrap up Genesis 26 there in the last verse, verses 34 and 35, we have Esau, this action here that we see at the end. Esau is, basically sealed off from the sacred inheritance. And so we'll get more into some of the things going on there. But we're going to go ahead and leave our conversation there. But guys, come back here next week where we are going to be digging into Genesis 27. So just Genesis 27. Make sure that you are prepared for next week. And next week we'll see if Sam can do a better job with the timer. Okay, you're already ready to. We're not quite done yet.
Like
okay,
double tap it
because we just do. It's just like a one tap, and then you like a hold it to reset, and then after we're done, there's another clap, right? And the clap has to come from Howard and all those types of things. So there's a like I felt like I needed to like after how we got started, but. Before we let you go, we are going to do a quick resilience boost. At Undaunted Life, our mission is equipping men to push back darkness with content that forges spiritual, mental, and physical resilience. I've already mentioned Logos. If you want to get the Logos Bible software at a discount, check it out in the show notes. But also, we have a great relationship with a great publisher in Crossway. We have a Forging Table starter set. There are 5 separate books that you can get at a 50% discount for the entire set. For those of you wanting to do something similar with your buddies, it can all be done there. And then also, just want to remind you, we are a donation-based ministry. If you're wondering how we can, do things like the Forging Table or get out the content that we do, it's because we have guys just like you that are helping us equip men around the globe to push back darkness. And without further ado, Howard, give us our closing clap. Just one clap. Just one clap. Not clap. Just clap. It's one big clap. Put those 2 enormous frying pan hands. Sorry, do it again. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. That's info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.Undaunted.Life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.